stone blue. The tiny grass hut had only the glow of a very small fire for light. The smell of incense and a thin haze of smoke filled the hut. The shaman uttered incantations. Tony watched and drank the ayahuasca that the shaman insisted he drink. Tony was familiar with the people in this area of the deep Amazonian forest. He had been here many times before when he searched for plants for the pharmaceutical industry. He had become one of the leading chemists working in the field. Tony had not been to this area in quite a few years. Tony, when he got married to his wife, Lori, started out with a loving and blissful marriage. Everything was perfect. But after several years, his traveling and tight business arrangements left the marriage cold. When he found out that Lori had cheated on him, Tony became furious with her. This led to a separation that Tony could not accept. She was now living with the other man she had met. Lori began the slow destruction of Tony and his career. The toll on Tony began to surface. He lost his job and became financially bankrupt. Tony was now a broken man with revenge on his mind. The small hut seemed to be breathing in and out at the same rate with Tony as the hallucinogenic tonic of the ayahuasca took effect. The shaman's face became animated with the glow of the small fire, highlighting his features, twisted and drawn from the utterings of demonic sayings. The rings and streams of smoke swirled around, with fingers whisking up resembling shapes of horrid faces. The feeling of evil made its presence. Tony watched as the shaman held up the hexagon-shaped diamond star pendant, holding it by the silver chain. Close to the fire was a small crucible filled with blood from a green anole, brown vesper bat, and a small amount taken from Tony. The blood was bubbling as it boiled, the steam sending up an acrid stench of death. The shaman was in a furious rant of incantation as he swung the diamond in what seemed to Tony to be some sort of specific inverted pentagram movement above the boiling blood. The shaman then dipped the clear diamond in the boiling red blood, holding it in the blood, chanting. The smoke in the hut began to swirl around. An intense feeling of energy filled the air. Tony became dizzy as the walls of the hut started to spin. He saw the stone being lifted from the crucible and was astonished as he saw the stone shining deep sapphire blue as the shaman held it up over the fire, the stone still steaming. Tony's senses peaked as a force seemingly came from the stone, sending a wave of power thumping through the hut and his body. A roar from the wave sounding like a jaguar filled the air. He fell backwards and was watching the conical roof of the hut spin faster and faster until he passed out. Tony felt a wash flow through and out of his body as he became awake, aware with crystal clarity. He was sitting in a piragua moving through the water of the Amazon River with dense forest on both sides. He did not remember anything after being in the hut. His hand, wrapped in a dirty cloth, was stinging with pain from the deep laceration in his palm. He started running events through his mind and quickly reached in his vest pocket, finding the jewelry box containing the blue stone. He did not open the box, only shaking it, hearing the rattle to know something was inside. Tony checked, and the piragua being paddled from each end was moving east downriver, taking him toward the Atlantic Ocean. He relaxed, knowing he was on his way home. Once he was off the river, he took the bumpy, dusty bus ride to the city of Cayenne in the French Guiana. He arrived at night. The docks were still busy with the loading of ships to various countries. He found one ship he was permitted to board and sail back to America. The ship would be leaving at dawn, so Tony waited by the side of a warehouse leaning against one of the walls. He finally had the chance to look in the small jewelry box to get a look at the stone. He backed up to get out of the lights from the window of the warehouse, standing in the dark. He opened the box and was staring into the blue diamond, admiring its beauty. He then gasped as he felt the cold blade that entered his back and heart. His legs went weak. He felt his life's blood draining inside his body. He fell to the ground, dropping the little box with the blue diamond. He saw the hand reach down and pick it up. Tony was dead. Manny quickly left the scene, going straight to his ship. His ship was not going to America. It was headed to Casablanca in Morocco, Africa. He boarded the ship, then made his way to his bunk. Another man was already in the cramped compartment. As Manny immediately got into his bunk, Raleigh made the comment to him, saying, "What's the matter with you, Manny? You're all out of breath, and I know that's not from working hard." "Shut up, Raleigh. It's none of your business what I do." Manny rolled to his side with his back to Raleigh, looking over his shoulder to make sure Raleigh was not getting up. Manny then took the small jewelry box from his pocket to look at it. He opened it and was excited to see such a large blue stone, sure that it would give him a payday like he had never seen before. Then Raleigh made another comment to Manny, as he was standing over him seeing the stone for the first time as well. Manny jumped at the first words. "So who did you kill to get that?" Manny shut the box, flipping over to confront Raleigh, saying, "You need to mind your own. I bought this from a guy." Raleigh only needed to say, "You ain't never had enough money in your whole life to pay for something that looks like that." Manny just rolled back into place without saying a word. The ship was at sea and near to Africa. The night was black with millions of stars shining. Manny was on deck for night watch. He did not hear Raleigh behind him. Then Raleigh took the length of cord in his hands, throwing it over Manny's head, pulling tight as he strangled him. Manny was choking and watched his feet in front of him struggle and kicking as he was being dragged backwards. He started to lose consciousness, the cord around his neck not giving. Then he felt himself being lifted and tossed. Falling fast, he saw the wake the ship was making as he fell, holding his breath by instinct as the water seemingly rushed upward. He hit the water hard and sank under. His first reaction from being strangled was to take a breath. The water filled his lungs as he sunk ever deeper into the blackness. The ship made port the very next morning. Raleigh was asked if he had seen Manny just before getting off the ship. He denied knowing where Manny was. Raleigh had his pay in one pocket and the little box in the other. He went straight to town where he got himself a room and cleaned up from many days at sea. He then went to several jewelry stores and tried to sell the blue diamond. No one was interested, not knowing how he had come across such a stone. He was giving up for the day. Strolling into a nightclub he had passed while walking, he made his way to the bar for a drink. He sat watching the crowd gathering for the evening. He had several drinks and the alcohol was starting to make him numb. A man approached the bar ordering drinks. The man then looked over at Raleigh and said to him, "I recognize you from earlier today. You were the one that came to my shop wanting to sell a blue stone. Is that correct?" "Yes, that was me." "May I inquire, do you still have the stone?" "Yes, I still have it." "I am with a man that may be interested in buying your stone. That is, if you are still willing to sell it." "Yes, it is still for sale." "Fine. Give me just one moment and I will have you meet him." The man left the bar walking through the crowd. Raleigh was excited to know he would be making a lot more money tonight. In short time, the man returned with another man. The second man introduced himself. "I am Friedrich. I understand you have an eloquent blue stone for sale." "I am Raleigh. Yes, I do, sir." "Let's move over here and take a look." Raleigh and Friedrich moved to a corner of the room. Raleigh opened the box and Friedrich was impressed. When the amount for the stone was asked, Friedrich said to Raleigh, "I do not have that kind of money on me. I will give you a room number to meet me at in 1/2 hour. I will pay you for the stone then." The two separated, with Raleigh going back to the bar for another drink. He was overly excited to know he was hitting a payday like he had never had before. As he walked out the front of the nightclub, the first man he had met was waiting for him with a car. Raleigh was surprised when he was offered a ride to the hotel where he was to be paid. He got in and the car was moving to the destination. Raleigh never heard the shot that passed a bullet through his brain, killing him instantly. The car stopped in a dark back street, dumping his body out. Pete was in Frankfurt, Germany to buy diamonds for the American market. He had met with his friend Ken, and the day's dealings were over. Pete learned from Ken a very interesting conversation that Ken had with another buyer. Ken was telling Pete, "I ran into an old friend that told me of an estate sale that he had gotten a great deal on some stones from. Do you remember Friedrich, Pete? You surely do, the one that would get the diamonds out of Morocco, Africa." "Oh yeah, the diamond thief. That is why we stopped buying from him." "Yes, that's the one. Well, it seems they found him dead just inside his front door. Just dropped dead with a briefcase full of diamonds still clutched in his hand he had just come back from Africa with. We have a chance to look at them if you are interested. Not so sure if it's worth it if they're stolen. My friend assured me that there is a copy of all the diamonds he purchased. I guess it wouldn't hurt to take a look." Arrangements were made. Pete and Ken met the friend. The briefcase was opened, and an assorted large amount of diamonds shined in the light. Pete was impressed with the diamonds and the price. He looked over the list and saw everything except the small jewelry box. He inquired as to its contents. The box was opened and the conversation started. Ken was the first to say, "I don't think I ever seen a stone so blue." "I can't say I have either. It's stunning. It's the only item not on the list. How do you suppose such a beautiful piece could go unnoticed?" "Not sure, but we could not sell that without documents. But I have an idea who might like it." "Sure, Pete. That new gal of yours, and for the price we can't go and leave it behind." Ken and Pete packed up the case, and Pete put the little box in his case. Pete landed in New York early in the morning. He had a dinner date tonight and rested until that evening. Pete dressed his best and picked up his date for dinner. The dinner was excellent, and he was surprised as the two of them got in his car. She had something that she wanted to tell him. He listened as she said, "Pete, I never thought I would meet someone like you. I don't mean to sound cold, but I have received word that Tony was found murdered in the French Guiana. I do not have to try and find him to finalize the divorce. I am a widow now, so as soon as I get the paperwork filed, I will be free of him." "I'm sorry, Lori, but I know how much you wanted to be free of him. I have something that I brought back from Germany for you that I hope will make you feel better." Pete held out the little jewelry box. Lori opened it and was amazed by the stunning blue hexagon-shaped diamond star pendant. She immediately took it out of the box and with Pete's help put it on. Lori was ecstatic to be wearing something so beautiful as well as being warmed with the thought that Pete had given it to her. Pete started the car and was on the way home, taking Lori with him. Several miles from home, another car swerved into their lane, causing them to crash head-on. Lori and Pete were killed instantly in the crash. The blue diamond waned in color, flashing in red, blue, and crystal until all of the color was gone.